An exclusive look inside Iran at some of the damage Israel has caused. CNN has a team on the ground, the first Western journalist inside Iran since the conflict began between Israel and Iran. This morning, our Fred Pleiken obtained access inside the state-run news agency in Tehran, which experienced a strike in the middle of a live broadcast on Monday. At least 2 people were killed.
We're inside the Iranian state broadcasting company, IRIB, which was hit by an Israeli airstrike a couple of days ago, and you can see the damage is absolutely massive. I'm standing in the atrium right now, but if you look around, this whole area has been completely destroyed. All of the offices, all of the technology that they have inside here, the broadcast technology, everything has been rendered pretty much useless. All right, so we're going to go inside the building now. They have told us that we need to be very careful because obviously there might still be unexploded parts of bombs in here or something like that. What we see here is the actual studio where an Iranian state TV anchor was sitting and reading the news when the strike hit. You can see here that is an anchor desk right there. And of course, when it happened, the anchor was reading the news and then all of a sudden there was a thud. The studio went black. At the beginning, she got up and left, but then later apparently came back and finished the newscast and is now being hailed as a champion of Iranian media. Some of the main bulk of the explosion must have been here because this place is absolutely charred. And if we look back over there, that actually seems to be the main part of what was the newsroom, with a lot of the desks, computers, printers, phones. You can see how much heat must have been emitted by the impact and by the explosion. The phones that they had here are molten. Here also, the keys molten, this screen, and there's actually someone's lunch still at their desk, standing here, which probably they would have been wanting to eat until they had to evacuate the building. You can see there's a spoon here that's also been melted away by this explosion. All of this is playing very big here in Iran. There's a lot of public anger that the Israelis attacked this site, and certainly the Iranians are saying that they condemn this and that there is going to be revenge for this. Fred Pleiken, CNN, Tehran.
Iranian state media reports Israel has attacked a heavy water reactor southwest of Tehran. CNN's Paula Hancock's following developments from Abu Dhabi. So what more do we know about these Israeli strikes over the past few hours?
Well, John, yes, let's start on what the targets have been according to the Israeli military in Iran. We have heard from an Israeli military official that they have in fact attacked the Arak heavy water reactor. It's about 150 miles southwest of Tehran. Now, this is part of the nuclear program that back in 2015, when that nuclear deal was being done between Iran and the US and the EU, it was focusing partly on this. It was supposed to be put out of use, according to the Israelis, and they say that they wanted to make sure that it was unable to be reused in plutonium production, not acknowledging, though, that it was being used at this point. We also heard from the Iranian officials that this happened about 6 a.m. Local time. We understand there were evacuation orders to residents nearby by the military in Israel, saying that this was going to take place. So it's another part of the Israeli military strategy at this point to be targeting the nuclear program. But we do hear that there are great concerns on the ground in Tehran, as some residential buildings have been hit, and certainly we're seeing many residents trying to get out of the city itself. Now, what we have also heard is that there was a strike yesterday or overnight close to the Red Crescent headquarters in Tehran as well. Now, since we have seen just in the past few hours the missile attacks on Israel, and in particular one that did hit a hospital complex just in the south of the country, we're hearing now from the Israeli Defense Minister as well, Israel Katz, saying that Israel is going to intensify its efforts in Iran, saying that they are going to intensify strikes against strategic targets. The defense minister saying that he and the prime minister have instructed the Israeli military to do that. John?
And this is what we heard yesterday from the IDF, that they were in fact looking for these missile launchers and taking them out, which is why the number of missiles fired by Iran had sort of decreased a day earlier. only to surge again in the last 24 hours. So this missile strike on Tel Aviv, which Jeremy Diamond has been reporting on, as well as on Beersheba, that comes despite what appeared to be a very successful attempt by the IDF to take out that infrastructure in Iran. So I guess this begs the question, are they better equipped than the Israelis thought? Or was this one of those moments that they managed just to get through the Israeli air defences?
Well, I think if we look at what happened at the beginning of the week, where you saw hundreds of drones and missiles being fired by Iran onto Israeli territory, and then you look at what we've been seeing the last few mornings, where there are dozens, in some cases there are less than that, but it is the fact that some of them are not being intercepted by the air defense systems in Israel, and some of them are managing to get through. Now, we also heard, interestingly, just yesterday, on Wednesday, from the defense minister, that they were actually going to ease restrictions on Israeli civilians. So they said that this was a message of victory, that they had managed to take out so many missile launchers, so many missile production centers, that they felt that they could lessen the restrictions on movement, the restrictions on what is closed and what is not able to be functioning at this point in Israeli society. Whether or not that is now going to be looked at again by officials, certainly as we hear from the same defense minister saying they're going to intensify their strikes going the other way into Iran. But we did hear over the past couple of days a message almost of military success from the Israeli military, that they believed that they had managed to degrade Iran's ability to strike Israeli territory. Now, we see when those missiles are not intercepted, when they get through, they are still able to do significant damage.
Absolutely. Paula, thank you. Paula Hancock's live for us in Abu Dhabi. Appreciate it. Good to see you. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is thanking Donald Trump for standing by Israel's side. The US President says he encouraged Netanyahu to continue Israel's military offensive, even as he himself weighs US involvement. The source says the President has reviewed attack plans, but is holding off to see if Tehran is willing to step back from its illicit nuclear program. CNN's Jeff Zeleny reports now from Washington.
After one more meeting with his National Security Council, President Trump retired to the residence of the White House on Wednesday evening. We are told still not resolved what his plans will be in terms of the U.S. lending a hand to Israel's attack on Iran. Will the United States lend the firepower to decapitate and destabilize the Iran nuclear program? That's very much an open question. Of course, President Trump began the day saying, I may do it, I may not do it. No one knows what I'm thinking. But he also, in the Oval Office on Wednesday, offered a window into his mindset heading into this major decision.
I have ideas as to what to do, but I haven't made a final. I like to make the final decision 1 second before it's due, because things change. I mean, especially with war. Things change with war. It can go from one extreme to the other.
Going from one extreme to another, that certainly is an understatement. But the weight of this decision clearly weighing on this president, who has long campaigned against American engagement, particularly in the Middle East. His whole American First agenda, of course, was about not intervening in other countries' affairs. Of course, the president says keeping Iran from developing a nuclear bomb is very much in America's interests. But going forward here, I am told some key questions are, can the U.S. authorize a strike? Can the president authorize a strike without entangling the U.S. government into a long, drawn-out war? That is very much an open question. Many advisors to the president believe he can indeed do that, but history is also on the other side of this. I'm also told that the aftermath of a strike is part of the president's decision-making as well. What would go into that in terms of fortifying U.S. forces in the region? Some 40,000 forces in the region. So the question here is, the president weighs this big decision. Will he listen to supporters of his who are urging him to strike at this opportunity? Or will he listen to some of his MAGA supporters who say do not do this? Or will he follow his own guidance? There's no doubt it's the biggest decision facing President Trump. Jeff Zeleny, CNN, the White House.
And there's mixed reaction from lawmakers in Washington as they weigh in on increased direct U.S. support for Israel's military offensive on Iran.
I believe this president's doing the right thing. I believe Israel's doing the right thing. They don't have a choice. You've got the leadership of Iran saying death to America and death to Israel, so they're doing the right things.
We certainly don't have time in the midst of what we all see going on for Congress to sit and cogitate for 6 or 8 months.
You can come to the negotiating table with us and give up your nuclear program, and we'll facilitate that. That's great. It's a very different thing, though, for us to then say, but we are going to offensively, affirmatively go strike Iran.
I think we are extremely vulnerable, severely and seriously vulnerable to drone attacks on our civilians as well as our military in the Mideast.